Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Counterpoise podcast. I am one of your great hosts, Samantha Adams, and I am joined with a few other beautiful faces. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Hey everybody, this is Malik Foster. I'm a co-host for the Counterpoise podcast.
I'm Everett Stevenson, your third co-host of Counterpoise as well. And we have a special guest that we're joined here today on this special topic today. And I'll let her introduce herself. Miss.
Hi, my name is Adriannette Williams. I am originally from Pensacola, Florida, and I still live in Tampa, Florida, and I'm happy to be here with you guys today. I'm a managing attorney, and I also own my own consulting company where I help with any needs of legal or communications needs. And I love my friends from law school, so I'm happy to be here with you guys today.
Thanks for coming, Nat. We're so happy to have you.
Yes, this topic is long overdue.
Yes. So today's topic is dating on the way up. And what we're going to be talking about is pretty much what dating is like for the professional. And it's not the same. It's not the same as it is for everybody else. It's not your everyday run-of-the-mill dating. We encounter things that others don't. So let's get into it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys a few questions. How about we start off with our law school experiences? So how was your dating life during law school? Does anybody want to answer first?
I'll start. But I laugh because when I came to law school, I was in a relationship. And while there, it ended. It didn't take long. And it didn't take long, not for those typical reasons, like, when people go into undergrad, a lot of times they separate just because they're apart from their partner and all that other kind of stuff. But I grew mentally. And it's not to say that the person I was with at the time didn't grow mentally. I just grew further. And as a result, I grew out of that situation. You know what I'm saying? And so, I had to let that thing go.
So let me ask this real quick, because like when you say I grew differently or they did in life, what does that mean, right? Because like I feel like sometimes when we talk about this type of stuff, right, like especially when it comes to relationships, one of the biggest things I think I look at is like when people say, well, they were just crazy, or you know what I'm saying? Like I grew, or you was being stagnant, or you didn't want what I want. Like, so that's what I was gonna say. Like, especially when we say grow, like what does that for you? What did that look like within your relationships, and maybe what some of the ways that you might have wanted to see growth within your partner that you did not see at that time?
I know for me, law school changed the way I looked at things. It changed my whole perspective on my approach to things in life, how I looked at the world. And because he wasn't there, his mind wasn't in that same space. So because I had evolved in that way mentally, as far as the impact from law school is concerned, it caused me to look at things very differently. And the person that I was when I got in that relationship wasn't the person that I was when I got out of it. Now, granted, people are going to grow, they're going to change, but the hope is that you guys grow together. But what I saw for myself and what I seen for myself once I ended that relationship was not the same thing I saw for myself when I got in it. So, and when I looked at where he was, we weren't in line with one another. We weren't aligned at all. I mean, that was my experience. What about you, Nat?
I was actually in a relationship for almost 10 years. And when I went to law school, I was still on and off with the same person. We had gone through undergrad, master's degrees, and law school was just another journey for us. It came with a set of it actually was probably the best time in our relationship, but it ultimately ended. And I honestly don't think it was all his fault. One of the things I learned is that
Never is.
yeah, it wasn't his fault. It was both of our, all of us had some blame in it. And I think what I learned is that, you're growing and you're at this place, and when you're in law school, it's almost like you're incubated and you really don't have the energy to focus on anything else that's going on, really. And you just like, if your partner can just hold on, that's really all you can ask, because you really can't offer too much during those 3 years, because literally we gave everything to law school. Like, we gave everything, and unfortunately whatever was left over is what your partner gets. And I'm sure, looking back on it now, that was never easy for a person who was used to getting so much of my attention, so much of my efforts. And I think that I've learned to extend grace to people that you're dating. They don't grow at the same pace that you do. And even when you're looking at a marriage, now I've never been married before, but I think 10 years is a long time. It was places where he would be way further ahead than I would be. And then, he just had to give me time to catch up, and I would be further along than he was. And you just have to give your partner time to catch up and extend that grace. And I think in law school, things were just moving too quickly for me as far as my career and everything was going. And I really just had to make some really hard choices. And I'm just going to choose me. And so it is no slight to him. Nice guy. I wish him the best, but I just had to choose myself. And so
Well,
that's what it is.
I'll jump in that, and we appreciate you, everybody, for sharing.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, and giving their truth. Because I also was in a relationship at the time in which I started law school. And my situation was a lot different. Because with me, when I started originally, like I said, I originally was in Michigan, and then I came and met you guys all down there in Tampa where we went to school. And so when I came, it was like a distance thing, already that was added onto it. And so within dating and having the time of taking on that experience, you had to do work on communicating, and that had to become really well, and talking often as you could, wanting to see each other, having to miss each other. And with me, I think the experience of law school, while it is, to you guys' point, it is taxing on the brain mentally. It could be taxing on, and it is taxing on your time as well. I felt as though, not necessarily that it was so much of a change in regards to growth. Just being honest, like for me, it was just like I kind of felt like at that time, the person that I was dating, I didn't necessarily see as the person that I wanted to be with long term. And that was kind of challenging, right? Because like we were always saying, you might like a person for why you like them, right? And for me, I'm big on, personality. I'm big on, how a person is when we're just chilling, we're just hanging out, and the vibe that I get from them and the energy that I get from them. So when I find a person that's like that, I know how this world is. It's not very many kind souls, if you will, that's out here. So I like to cherish those type of things. And so when I kind of was looking at it and thinking of my life and where I was trying to go once I finished law school and all of the things, and I'm looking at somebody who I feel like, wants certain things from me in regards to, willing to say, listen, hey, I'm here. I'm willing to, ride. I'm willing to, be there with you, stick it out, whatever you got going on, whatever, like we can figure this thing out. And, you're sitting there thinking at yourself like, okay, cool. Now I got someone that, that's there, but I know what comes with those type of responsibilities, right? Like, I'm gonna have to now, provide for that person, right? I want to make sure that once I get out of school, that I can have myself together for them. And you know what I'm saying? That before I tell you to come be here, I didn't want to be in school. Like, oh, we in law school and, we figuring all of that stuff out within it. I know that could be taxing on a relationship. So while it's, understood that, and I think this is something that we could probably discuss as well, especially within this point of our lives at this time, when you're dating someone and where you're trying to get to in your career, how that timing might be a little bit off. And I think for us, in my particular situation, I was trying to get established as a man and feeling like, when you're trying to get yourself to being a man that, you know, in society, right? You can take care of your family, do all of the things that, you know, we all think of as a man or a husband should do. When you're on that path, sometimes if you're not there, you know, even though you might have somebody that might be willing to rock with you, as a guy, as a man at least, you don't necessarily feel like you should be wanting to take on someone else if you can't, you know what I'm saying, give them what you it maybe have in your mind, even if they'll be like, you know, I'm cool with what it is or what you have. It's like I have a vision for my life, and although you might be okay with just taking it and rocking with me till I get there, I'm telling you, I don't want to have that responsibility, you know what I'm saying? That responsibility while I'm trying to get there. And I think that's something that, you know, was also a challenge while I was in school and a hindrance in ultimately my relationship.
I think you hit on something, Ian. I think this is something that I don't know why we didn't. I'm gonna just say this in the Black community. Like I was always told, oh, don't worry about, you know, no relationship, get through school. And then now my parents are like, where my grandkids? Bro, y'all told me not to worry about nobody. Like y'all told me. And so the thing, I think we need to change the narrative. I will never tell my kids, oh, don't worry about a relationship. If you find someone who you can go through this journey of life with, stick with them and roll out, rock out. And that's what I would tell my children. I grow with them and go. Like, I don't think I would ever say, oh, you need to wait till you're at a certain spot to be in a relationship. But that's kind of the expectation of Black men, is that you have to be at a certain level before you're almost even worthy of like being in a relationship. But I mean, at the point when I was in a relationship in law school, I was definitely willing to like just rock with it, roll, like and grow together, because we came up together. You know what I'm saying? We had split peanut butter jelly sandwiches and one Dr. Pepper out the can. Like we rolled out. You know, it was what it was. So at this point, I was like, you know, whatever you need to do to get here, I'm down. Whatever I need to get here, I'm down. And I think that we really need to break this cycle of people feeling like they have to make it to a certain level before. You don't have to do anything special to deserve love. Period.
But see, that's where I want to like go at too. And I'm sorry if you got something you want to jump in real fast, Malik, please.
No, you can finish your point. Go ahead.
Oh, that's what I wanted to say too. Along with that, right, is that like you just said, like you maybe not need to wait, but I also think that, you know what I'm saying, we might not necessarily need to wait, but I do think that, you know, you need to be able to like have that conversation, because one of the things I was going to commend you on was you was like, yo, we've been together for a while, right? And I think that's something we gonna need to talk about, and maybe we don't have to talk about it at this moment, but like, when is that point in which you kind of figure out how you gonna rock with who you rocking with, you know what I'm saying, for that length of time before you're ready to just say, you know what, okay, this isn't gonna work. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, we could all talk about it maybe from where we're at now in life, or, you know, at this point in time. But I'm sorry, I'll phrase that question and we can go after, you know.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to briefly mention my experience with law school and dating. So like you, Everett, I was in a relationship when I first started law school, and my girlfriend, she was in a separate state from mine. Was because we went to Florida. We were at the Florida campus. She was back up in Maryland. So that was a difficult thing, distance. But I like to think of law school like an island, right? So there's us, you know, us law students at Cooley. We're on this island, and then our significant others are outside the island. They don't understand how we live. They don't understand what's going on the island. They don't get it. So they don't get the difficulty of law school. They don't get, you know, we can't always communicate. They don't understand why, you know, maybe we're not growing in certain areas or assisting them in certain areas, or, you know, just catering to their needs like how we used to. So that was a difficulty in my relationship, the distance. And then my girlfriend, she just started to kind of grow apart. So I was no longer like adding to her happiness. So my thing is happiness. So my thing is this, right? So I want a partner who's going to add to my happiness, not be my happiness. And I wasn't doing that for her, so she had to leave me and move on. So that's kind of how I think of my law school experience in dating. I was on an island. I struggled to survive on the island, and my girlfriend, she didn't really understand that, and she couldn't really grasp that concept of the lack of communication, the difficulties, me not understanding her feelings as well as she would like or how I used to, and just us growing differently because we're so far apart in different areas of our lives. So I just want to make those points.
Yeah, I want to jump in real quick. You guys all touched on something that I definitely experienced in that relationship that I was in during law school. It was the for lack of a better term, a neediness, right? Like I couldn't be as available for the person, for the guy that I was with, and he needed way more of me than I had to give. You know what I'm saying? And then being in that bubble, like you said, Malik, people don't understand that bubble. Only people that understand that bubble are the people in it. You know what I'm saying? Or the people that have been in that bubble before. And sometimes it gets hard because you yourself need your own mental support, right? And a lot of times your support system, no matter how strong they are, how real they are, no matter how much they're there for you, riding for you, cheering you on, there are different times when they don't fully really understand what it is that you're experiencing, right? And so we often look to our partner, our significant other, for that support. And if they're ill-equipped with being able to understand, it's a lot of times I think to find longevity in that is to recognize that your significant other probably won't understand, but just appreciating the fact that they're supportive and that they're there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know for me, once I got out of that relationship, I much like E was like, I'm not trying to hurry up and get in another one because I'm not trying to drag somebody into this, right? I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm in a relationship with somebody and I can't give them what they deserve or what they need, right? Because that's not really fair to them. Because I know for me, if the shoe was on the other foot, I wouldn't want to be in a position where I'm with somebody and they're not available to me in the way that I need it, right? Because that's kind of how, that's like part of a relationship. It's a give and take type situation. So I know for me, you know what I'm saying? I had to just say, you know what, this is what I'm focusing on, you know, and kind of like Net said, we have to try to get out of that way of thinking, right? Because we often go into this place where we're like, all right, well, I want to, for men, you know, just like she said, for men, they have to have some specific level, not specific, but some certain level of success, whereas women don't necessarily have to have that. However,
not at all.
But hold on though.
Right.
When you're dealing with a professional woman, we have our own standards, right? And we have set the bar fairly high for ourselves. So although it's typical for a man to have that, professional women often have that too. And it kind of goes into how it spills over once they become a professional, right? And what that standard looks like and what they're willing to accept and what they're not willing to accept. Whereas some people, you know, they think that because they get to a certain level, they deserve a certain amount. You know how we talked about those delusions and dating and all that other kind of stuff. I don't think people are truly honest about what is really available to them versus what they are offering, you know, and as a professional, you know, you offer this level of success based on your professional career, but then there's a whole nother side to it, right? Like your personality. Who are you? What is your vibe? Like, you know, what are you doing? What are you providing? And when you're talking about provision, you're not talking about monetary provision. You're talking about, are you nurturing? Do you care? Are you so focused, laser focused on your career that you're completely like ignoring your significant other? Does your significant other like that? Do they not like that? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of give and take, I think, with that. And I think you guys touched on a whole lot of things.
Yeah, and I think that segues perfectly into like dating after law school. And so I had the experience of like breaking up, and we stayed together during law school. We just broke up as like a month before I graduated, which it's kind of, I know.
Wow.
But so he made it through law school. But I think also it was some things I just wasn't really willing to deal with. long term. And my dad has a very big presence in my life. And so when I was thinking about marriage, when I was thinking about going down the road with someone and leaving the covering of my father and joining this man and saying he's going to cover me and take care of me, that was kind of hard to say,
Yeah.
based
Yeah.
on the current circumstances.
I understand.
And so as I moved on and I've dated, I've always now, it has not been bad actually as a professional. You find people who, what I found is even if it didn't work out, I've got some great friends out of it. And the best parts of the relationship are like, I can come home and be like, hey, yo, I got this presentation or I got this case coming up. And that person is able to be like, all right, fire, you should do this, da, 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 da. Now you got somebody now on, on an equal playing field as you are, and they're giving you advice and they're not mad when you say, oh man, I got to travel out of town for 2 weeks. I'll be back there. I see you when you get back, because they know in 2 weeks they got to go out of town,
Right.
And so now you have somebody who understands what's going on, but they also got their own thing going on. Because one of the things that we didn't hit on is that significant other in law school is lonely. That's
Right.
very lonely. So when you have two professionals and you have your own thing going on and you're encouraging and cheering on each other, it's beautiful. Like that was probably one of the best relationships ever, as far as, and it helped me personally grow and professionally grow. So I think that dating after law school has been awesome.
So let me ask you this, Adriannette, and also to you, Samantha. What are some of the difficulties in dating as a Black woman in this professional field of law?
That's a loaded.
Good question. I know you see that exhale, believe.
Good God, because just dating as a Black woman is one whole loaded topic, and then dating as a professional is a whole nother loaded topic, right? Because,
Right.
oh Lord. So I think it always depends, right? That's like the lawyer's go-to answer, right? It depends on who you're dating. That's one thing Adriannette kind of just touched on, who you're dating. If you're dating another professional, right, who might also be a Black person, like a Black man or whatever, they may have a different level of understanding as to what you got going on. It makes it a lot easier because their mindset is you're equally yoked mentally. You see what I'm saying? Because you guys both have a similar mindset. But when then you have like this, like almost, I don't want to say there's a definitive 3 categories, but you have that type of situation. You also have a type of situation where somebody may not have necessarily, they may not necessarily have the same level of education as you have, but it doesn't mean that they're lacking in understanding or support. They can still be a cheerleader, still be okay with the fact that you got to do what you got to do, move, shake, cheer you on, and do all that stuff. That's also beautiful, especially too when they're focused on what it is they're doing. But then you have another group of people that either A, are really just with you because of your title, right? They don't really treat you how you would expect to be treated, like as a human being, as a woman, right? They treat you like you're a lawyer, like you're an object, right? And then you also have people that just lack an understanding because their expectation is that of somebody who's not a professional. And that those 2 types of situations, the latter 2, from what I've noticed, tends to be more difficult, right? Because then you're spending more time trying to explain where you are, what you have going on. Whereas you can be using that time to celebrate the space that you're in and collectively be happy and embrace one another based on where you are, as opposed to what that person wants from you. I mean, I think that's as a professional, right? Then as a Black woman, there's a whole nother issue, right? Because there's a whole Black love thing. And although Black love is beautiful, right? We struggle with it as Black people. You know what I'm saying? We struggle with it as Black people. And a lot of that, I can get real deep into, things that we've been.
Hold that for a whole nother, we're gonna have to dig in that one. Yeah. I'm gonna have to slow you on that because we got to both go on that one. But I will say, we do understand what you mean by that, because
right. Going back from learned
that's an
behavior
episode we gonna have to do.
generation. Right, from learned behavior from generations dating back to slavery. We're not getting in all that now, but that's definitely present when you're talking about, you know, Black people dating. That's just my observation and my experience.
Okay. Do you have any opinions on that, Adriannette? Got any difficulties dating as a Black professional woman in the legal field?
Yeah, I mean, it's not dating that is hard. It's finding, you know, like the right person that you want to settle down with. I don't think dating is hard at all. I think as you are sifting through these individuals, I think Everett hit on it too, because sometimes you can want to hold on to somebody because they're good. They're a good person. They're nice, you know, whatever else, but they may not be the right person for you. And so I think now it's a point in life where you're like, okay, is this good enough? And so you got to fight that feeling to settle because it's good enough. I want fantastic. I want excellent. And honestly, it's just not about like this fireworks feeling of love. For me, I think it's about someone who I can see building my purpose with more than just, oh, I love them, I'm gonna get along with them and that kind of thing. But for me, it's like, can we really go down the road together? Is that iron gonna sharpen my iron? Like, are we on the same page?
So let me ask this too, because you just said something real quick that was really good. Like can we build can you build my purpose, right? And so like my question then becomes like, what would that look like, right? Does it just mean being supportive of what you got going? Does it mean like actually being in there, you know what I'm saying, hands on?
It depends on the season.
You know what I'm saying?
It depends on the season. And here's the thing. Sometimes I don't need anybody to do anything for me except get out the way. Okay, so there's sometimes I got this thing, I'm carrying it on my back. I just need you to move out the way so I can get it done. Sometimes I may need you to come along and I may need you to do A, B, and C, and D for me. One thing about me is I'm a good delegator and I'm gonna tell you what I need from you. And if you can't do it, that's fine. I'll bring in somebody else on the team to get it done. I think that building a purpose, number one, you have to know what your purpose is. You have to know where you're going and what you want, because if you don't know the purpose of something, you will always misuse it. And that goes for your partners as well. So if they don't know your purpose and you don't know theirs, you're always going to misuse each other. And it's always going to be some confusion. Yeah. So I think you got to know that your purpose and you got to know what you need from that person. And don't be mad if they can't give it to you. Now, I use my parents as an example, because my mom was always kind of one who cooked, did everything, you know, whatever. My dad's, you know, hands-on as well. But I remember the shift in my house when I was in high school and my mom decided to go back to college and get her master's degree. And I went to my dad and I was like, I'm real proud of mama, but who gonna cook? And so he said, I will. And I'm like, okay. But I literally saw my father switch roles. You know what I mean? Like, he was the one cooking, he was the one, and she would be in her office all weekend because she ran a hospital on the weekdays. And on the weekends, she would be studying. And I saw my dad do that without complaining. Like, he just put it on his back and he don't complain about it. You know what I'm saying? And so you have some partners who will do that and there will be resentment. You have some partners who will do that and you got to hear about it every day. Yeah. You know, and you got some partners who will do that and then they got to tell everybody else what they doing because they want the praise for it. But that's not really what you want in a partner. And I think my dad understood the bigger picture. Like, this is for us. And, you know, the other part of it is my mom stood on the back burner for years while we were coming up so that we could be raised in one place. And so my dad said when we got ready to graduate, it was her turn, you know, and I think that's part of a partnership too. And that's what I'm looking for.
Right. Do you have it? Go ahead, Sam.
I mean, I agree with that. I think, but that's why I said before, like, it depends, right? It depends on where you are and what you're looking for. Like she said, it's the season that you're in, but it's definitely important to have purpose, right? Because what are you doing if you don't have purpose? Like, that's like driving down the street with no destination. Where are you going? You know what is happening?
On that, but I think like that's what we talking. Like, you gotta be able to find your purpose, right? Or like find what that purpose is in the person's life. And I think we all spoke to that earlier. A person's purpose in law school might not have been your same purpose that I need for you after school, right?
You gotta keep switching.
And maybe even the purpose that I was dating somebody in undergrad, which would have been a lot different than, you know what I'm saying, actually being out here in the real world and trying to make things happen. Which is why I was also trying to, you know, get that phrase, because one of the things that I think is the biggest challenging for me, you know, I know you want to phrase the questions to the Black male, but I'll go ahead and take it anyhow because I feel like they've been going for a minute. But one of the things that I think is one of the challenges that I think that, you know, you just face in general within dating, you know what I'm saying, is like, honestly, like, because what Nat said is something that, like, sometimes I wonder, like, is it that generation versus this ours? Because, like, I know we kind of come up in the era, and we all know as being professionals and lawyers, how, you know, quick divorces and things can happen, and how quick tempers can flame, and, you know, how everything is so, you know what I'm saying, feelings and da da da. So, you know, we know, and especially in our era, again, you know, they call us the microwave kids, you know what I'm saying? So we came up from instant, you know what I'm saying, on through, you know, from there to, like you said, we talked about Walkmans the other day, to iPods, to, you know, so we've been used to having access to a lot of things very fastly, right? Even with like online dating and stuff, right? So I think the thing that really is the question that's posed, and is one of the things that I want to bring it back to what I was referring to earlier, is like, how are we able to figure out which partner is the partner that we want to be with, and allow them the room to say, when is enough, right? Like, because when do we say, okay, you know what, I'm giving you time to show growth in this area, or to show change in this area, and you haven't, and or, you know, I'm changed now, so what might have worked for me in the past is no longer going to be able to work for us as we're trying to get to where we're going. So I need you to maybe change some things. When do you guys feel as though it's, you know, appropriate time to have that conversation with your partner, and how do you think you should have that conversation?
I think, first off, I don't think, number one, let me just be clear, and you didn't infer it, but I just want to make sure nobody else, you know, perceives it this way. That's not a male or female question. That's just a general relationship question. You know what I'm saying? And because there's definitely times where a man might have grown beyond a female, you know?
Yeah.
And in those instances, you still have that same question, or those same questions. I think that that's an individual thing. I think the person has to ask themselves, how much of that non-growth can they take? Are they willing to wait for that person to grow? And if so, what's the cutoff point? That cutoff point is going to be different for everybody, right? Like, you know, you could talk to your friend and they can tell you, you better than me, I'd have been left. You know what I'm saying?
Don't listen to your friends.
But I'm just saying, that might be what might work for them, but that might not be what works for you, you know, because at the end of the day, there's only two people in your relationship. Doesn't matter how many other people you kind of low-key bring in by telling them your business or talk to vent to or whatever. At the end of the day, that connection is between y'all two, and you have to figure out what that line in the sand is for you, right? For some people, it might be a situation where it's like, all right, well, he's not really growing. Like, I know when I touched on it earlier in my past relationship, when I entered law school, for me, it was a multitude of things. The growth was one of them, right? I started to see things that he couldn't see. And it was causing me to spend too much of my energy. You see what I'm saying? And so for me, that was too expensive. But for somebody else, they might be okay and willing to spend that time and that energy to try to bring somebody up where they're not really trying to go. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, kind of like Nat said, if somebody is not for you, it's hard sometimes. That's the thing about loyalty, right? When you're loyal to a person, you don't really want to let them go. You want to kind of bring them around or bring them along that journey with you. And not everybody is meant to go. You know what I'm saying? And it's accepting that fact that everybody's not meant to go, and it doesn't necessarily make them a bad person. It doesn't mean that they're just like a creep or a dirtbag or whatever. It's just that's a piece of luggage you ain't supposed to bring on this trip. You see what I'm saying? And you know, they've served their purpose in your life at that time. So I mean, you know, to kind of answer your question, I think that it literally just depends on the relationship, the connection, and the individuals that are within that relationship. You know, I do have a question for y'all, but does anybody want to add anything?
Can you ask the question again, E?
Yeah, go ahead, E. Ask the question again.
So my question was, like, for you as an individual, what is it that, you know, like allows you to say, you know what, I'm giving this much flexibility on whatever the issue may be. And then also, how do you address that issue to them to allow them to know, like, maybe, hey, you're on thin ice, or this is a probationary type issue with me right now that if this lingers a little longer, we might not be on the same page anymore. Like, how do you guys address those type of strong issues, if you will, in the relationships that need to be had, but also could, sway the relationship one way or another?
I actually have done that, and that's really what caused me to walk away from the relationship. So I'll say two things. It was a couple things that I just realized that I could not deal with. One, I refused to be with anybody who got in the way of what I was trying to do with my career. If you got in the way, and if I have a big presentation and you fighting with me because I put salt in the sugar container and you done cause hell in the household, and I'm like an emotional person, so I'm trying to fix things when I really shouldn't have to worry about that. If you're bringing these little things on me, knowing what I have going on, then you gotta go. You know what I mean? You gotta go. That was number one. And number two, it was certain topics of integrity. If you cross a certain line, I may say, okay, don't do that again. If you do, you out. But I would literally say, if you do that again, you're out. And I think some people take me as a joke because I'll say, don't do that again, you're out. You want to go eat? Like, I don't hold it against you. I said what I said. But if you do it again, you're going to look around and I'm going to be gone. Gone. Because I'm not here to play these games. I'm not here to stay in a toxic relationship, because that's what it becomes. When you tell somebody your line in the sand and they continue to cross that line, they don't respect you, and that's toxic. So you have to go at that point. And it's not a point of how much I love you. It's not a point of how much I've invested in you. It's not a question of my loyalty. I said what I said. You cross that line, I gotta go. And y'all men understand this. Don't act like you don't, because I'll tell you what, if your girl cheat on you, I don't care how much you love them, you out. You hear me? I don't care what, you out. You know what I mean? That's the line in the sand that I have too. So I tell me in that same thing, the way you feel when you say this is the line in the sand, I don't care how much you cross. If I don't care how much I love you, if you cross this line, I'm out. Same for me, pimping. Same for me. So that's how I deal with it.
So let me ask this real quick, and then Malik, you can go ahead. But is your line in the sand exactly the same on what their line in the sand is, or are you saying like, or is it just in regards to that topic of like you were saying?
No, whatever that topic is. So those are my two things. Like, you gotta have integrity with me, and you gotta you can't get in the way. And the thing is, it's not just getting in the way of my career, it's causing me mental anguish. It's certain things I'm just not willing to subject myself to, and that's somebody who's mean, cruel, causing me to be sad. I mean, having bad days is one thing, but you consistently causing me to feel like I'm a different person, like, nah, I'm not doing it. So I'm out. And so those are my two things. And I will warn you, I'll say, hey, we can go to therapy, we can get some help, you can go there, whatever it is, I'm gonna give you a chance to get it right. But if you play with me on those two things, you played yourself, because you got
right. I agree with that. Like, I'm a firm believer in, I shouldn't have to be unhappy before I'm happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't got to put me through all of that foolishness before, and I have to subject myself to it before I can be happy. You know what I'm saying? If this is what we're doing and we have an understanding, then this is what it is. You see what I'm saying? When things start changing, of course, you got to sit down and have that conversation about, look, things are changing. This is how it's changing, so that you remain on that same page. Because the minute one person's changing that page quicker than the other one, the book gonna be finished for one faster than the other.
and that's my whole point, right? Because like, since what I was just saying earlier, like, right? So if I'm like, yo, well, I want to kind of get myself to this point and say, we was in a situation. I know, like, for me, it took me a few years after I got, like, graduated from school to kind of like really get everything going, established in the area that I wanted to be in, the city, all of that, So, like, what if a person was sitting there like, okay, well, shoot, you was telling me then, woo, and now, you know what I'm saying, you was rolling on, like, who gonna roll on that 4 or 5 year, you know what I'm saying, journey? I think that there are people that will do that, you feel what I'm saying? But I just think that it's rare that people kind of give you that breath or understand, because you might not, especially, I don't know about everybody on here, but I know for me, when you're trying to navigate as a professional in the area that you're trying to navigate, and especially in the first coming of years, of establishing yourself and getting the knowledge and getting the understanding of what it is that you're doing day to day in and day out, you are mistaken if you think that you get past law school or you get past a graduate level of schooling or whatever it is, and that, you know, all of a sudden you get back to that regular, I'll call it the K through 12 like lifestyle that, you know, you in school from 8 to 4, you know, banker's hours, you only Monday through Friday, you get holidays, you get a summer, you know, that's not that life, right? And we understand that. I think, like, you know, it's a parallel to, say, a person that's an entrepreneur, right? And they're out here and they're making their money. They might not have went to a professional school, and that's why this topic isn't necessarily addressed just to professionals as much as it is to people that's living in the real world who's working at something on their purpose. Like you just said, it happens to be maybe our profession is something that helps us to go in our purpose. You know what I mean? And so and some of our purpose and the things that we made that may help us do our jobs, which are traits that also help us be in our purpose, you know, communicating, the way that we help people feel when they're around us or when we're talking to them. These shows, having these conversations that maybe can help people when they're in their relationships, or they have conversations with their significant other, and maybe prevent future situations from occurring in their relationships, you know what I'm saying, are all things that I think help people get to where they're going. But I also feel like are also things that will further, you know, advance, you know, relationships as people kind of move, you know, in the world of working, you know, nonstop to try to get to their goal. And what I meant to say real fast, to go back to your point, to push back, is like you was just saying, you know, hey, I want to be able to, you said, like, I want to be able to say, like, you know, hey, you know, you don't have to work to get to a certain point where I'm not trying to struggle for a while, right? But like, what if, you know, within that time frame of, like I said, those 4 or 5 years, maybe you might have just been like, man, I don't know. Like, you feel what I'm saying? It's not to say, you know, in them 4 or 5 years, you just wasn't doing nothing with your life. You could have been working and grinding, and maybe your progression may have worked a little bit faster than mine, right? You feel what I'm saying? It might have just took me this long to get to my stride. You feel what I mean? And we could have still made up and got to where we had to go to, but like, that's why I was rephrasing that question. Like, what's that level of energy? Like, what type of issues? And when you say, I'm gonna give you a little more room on this, I'm not really giving much room. And to answer that question too, lastly, I'm gonna wrap this up. But to answer that question, for me, it's kind of similar to what Adriannette said. I always look at it like the HWF, right? You know, if you mess with my health, if you mess with my wealth or my freedom, I don't care if it's friend, you know what I'm saying, a relative, I don't care if it's, you know, dog, pet, you know, plant, or whatever it is. Anything that's messing with my health, wealth, and freedom cannot be around, because it's not going to be good for, you know, my overall being.
And let me stop you. I don't mind money or anything like that. I don't mind, you know, sharing finances. That's not the thing. If you mess with my way to make my living, is what I'm saying. Because I think that's different. You know, because you gonna win and lose financially when you with somebody. They may need something. But I mean, if you get in the way of how I make my living, then we have a problem. And I some people don't understand that, but you know, me and my friends have this joke. I said, look, I'd rather cry in Dubai than Detroit. And no shade to Detroit. But what I'm saying,
real disrespectful in here.
But what I'm saying is that if I'm gonna be sad and I'm gonna be without you, I'm gonna have all my coins and I'm gonna have everything I was supposed to have with or without you.
So that Detroit got the second Dubai and Dearborn right next to it. So don't play us like that.
I'd rather cry in the Palace than Pensacola. How about that?
Yeah, that's much better. But to answer your question, from my perspective, I just have a simple test. Like, if the relationship and they're doing something that's going to be subtracting from my happiness, then it has to go. If it's not going to subtract from my happiness, then it can stay. So it may be just some issue that we can talk about directly and work it out and resolve. Cool. But if I know it's going to subtract from my happiness, whether it's interrupting my career, if it's a decision that I want to make and it's going to make me unhappy and they're trying to force you to make another decision, that's where I gotta go. So your partner needs to understand, whether it's a girlfriend, husband, wife, they need to understand like your happiness, because that's really what it's all about. Like that's why I'm with you, because you're adding to my happiness. That's why I chose you to be my partner. Hello? Is everybody there? Okay.
Well, you're there. You're back. You're good.
Okay, maybe I
I'm
lagged
not
out
big on
real quick.
happiness, Malik. I have to disagree with you.
You're not big on
Go ahead, man.
happiness? I think you are, Adriannette, because you mentioned your career. If somebody messes with your career, which I think makes you happy, you cut them off.
No, it allows
So-
me to eat. It allows me to put food
And-
on my
And
table.
that makes
It
you
allows me
happy.
to-
It all goes back down to happiness, Adriannette.
No,
Your
happiness
career
is-
lets you do the things that make you happy. Am
No,
I right?
my
or am I
career
wrong?
allows me to have a life that gives me peace, Malik.
And
peace and happiness
makes
are two
you
different
happy.
things.
I don't really think they are two different things.
I'm not really
Well,
happy
I
all
think-
the time. I'm just at peace. And there's
I
a
think-
difference.
I
And
think.
so
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Sorry. I was
Go
going
ahead,
to just.
Adriannette. Or Sam.
Let me just say what I was going to say real quick, and I think it's going to touch on what both of y'all are saying. Okay, I think that, and when I'm talking about, for me, when I'm talking about my energy, I think that's all inclusive, right? That includes my career, that includes the work I put in to get to where I am. I mean, I know I can be further along in life, but I can be a lot further back too. You see what I'm saying? So it's affecting my progress. It's affecting my peace. And when I say peace, I don't just mean like, I'm content with where I'm at. I'm talking about my peace of mind, my just where I'm going. If it's interrupting that, I can't do it. Those things, and it includes my happiness and my health, and like all of those things are all inclusive. So it's understanding what it is that I'm trying to protect. So if you understand what that energy is, right? And somebody is trying to interrupt any aspect of it, I can't do it. You see what I'm saying? It's like reading a book. Like, remember a few minutes ago, I gave the analogy of reading a book. And it goes towards answering the question that E had posed, right? If I'm reading a book and I don't like the book, I don't got to finish it. I could close the book and walk off. Somebody else might pick up that book behind me and might love that book. It might be their favorite book because that's where they are mentally. Me, I don't like it. So, I have to recognize, for me, if it's not my cup of tea, if it's interfering with my energy and what it is that I'm trying to protect and trying to use to move forward, then it's not for me. As long as it's it's giving positive energy, it's feeding that energy in a positive way. I guess that's the best way to say it. If it's feeding my energy in a positive way, then I'm for it. But if it's subtracting too much, because I don't need my energy to be in a deficit. You know what I'm saying?
And we spend a lot of time today talking about what we want from a partner, but
Right.
can we hit on what we are giving, what we are offering, and how important that is to a relationship? My favorite quote is by my basketball coach right way back in high school, and he said, "You got to be worth whatever trouble you cause." And trust me, I'm big trouble. Okay, so I know that. But you got to be worth it. You really do. And so you have to find ways to add value to your partner's life. And I think that's one of the things that has really shifted my perspective. That may not have been something I came into relationships with, but I always try to find a way to like make that person's life easier. Like, what can I do for you? And sometimes I'll just watch and I'll see what you need help with. And I know if I'm good at it and don't take me, it's nothing for me, but it's a struggle for you. I got that part. You ain't got to worry about that ever again. And I think that's really where you really hit your stride when you're talking about relationships. But it comes from understanding, number one, we're not perfect. I know I'm not perfect. I don't expect the person I'm with to be perfect. It's just certain things I'm not going to deal with. But they're not going to be perfect. They're not going to be on the same level as you all the time. You got to understand that. And you got to ask yourself, what am I bringing to the table? What am I offering this person?
I actually have a question that kind of touches on that for you guys.
Okay.
A Black male lawyer, do you believe? How do you believe? I'm trying to phrase this question properly, but as a Black male attorney, how does what you give and provide affect your relationships? Specifically as an attorney though, right? Because a lot of times we're looked at as, oh yeah, because you're an attorney, you have this prestigious title. How does that affect you and your giving?
Well, I think there's two answers to this question from my perspective. One, is if you're dating someone in the legal field, such as an attorney or judge or something like that. And the second part is if you're dating someone in the non-legal field, right? So in the legal field, they'll understand. So you'll be able to maybe schedule things, plan it out, communication will be better. From my perspective anyway, from dating somebody in the legal field briefly. But comparing that to somebody not in the legal field, it's like you have to over communicate. They have to learn to understand. It's kind of like being in law school all over again. For me, relationship wise, it's like getting them up to speed and then them learning to accept, grow and learning to accept the difficulties of the profession and realizing, hey, you may not have the access to me like you really want, but when you do have access to me, you have to cherish and value that. So communicating that to your partner and making them really understand, like when I do take time out, like I'm really planning to take this time out to spend with you and to do special things for them and to just let them know you care and appreciate them for who they are and that they're in your lives. So I think that's how I've been handling it.
But when you give that time, are you giving full access though?
Yeah. You got to shut it down. You can't do any work. You got to focus. I've been working on that, honestly. If anybody I'm dating or talking to, it's like I'll shut it down. No computer, no emails, no work. Hey, we just gonna talk or go on a date or do whatever you want to do. Just shut it down those hours. It's hard to do it because you're like, I can get some more work done. And especially if you're not having the most fun, like you're like, I could just squeeze 2 minutes here, shoot this email. And it's like, like, oh, they're distracted. Let me do something. But yeah, you just got to learn how to shut it down. So I usually calendar and schedule like everything now. So I just pick my hours of free time, like even for family, like they have their days where I call them on a weekly basis, or if something comes up emergency, of course, it's whatever. But in terms of constant communication, they have their days. So that's how I've been approaching it. What about you?
Malik, have you ever asked yourself, like, am I giving enough? Like,
always ask myself, am I giving enough? But I think the question is two parts for me. Like one is if somebody's in the legal field, such as yourselves, like I think you guys will have more understanding and it's easier to present the big picture. But with somebody in the non-legal field, you got to constantly massage them like, look, this is my goals. These are my aspirations. I want you to be a part of that. Constantly building them up so they can feel secure in themselves. Because with women, I've noticed it's all about stability and security, right? So they already like, okay, they're good with your looks, but they want to feel secure and stable. So they don't feel secure and stable if you're not giving them that security that they feel like they need or that they actually do need. So however, they feel, you have to make them feel that way or at least feel secure in what you're doing. So if
you hit it, Malik.
Just, not giving them that communication, they don't feel secure. They just don't feel secure. Even though they know you're hard at work, they just don't feel secure because you're not communicating. They just think you're off doing some other stuff. It's like, no, I'm working. It's like they can see you recorded working, and they says, "This is pre-recorded." Yeah, like so you like doing this paperwork more than me, huh? Like you're cheating on them with the paperwork. I'm like, oh, so that's how it goes.
Well, when I have started on this side of dating with professionals, especially guys who like have their own careers and they may be doing some dynamic things, and they say, "Oh, Nat, I'm sorry, I was busy," and I'm like, "We make time for what's important to us." You know what I mean? Because if your frat brothers call you, you're going to get on that group meeting, you're going to message them, whatever. And so what I ask, I say, when you're thinking about me, shoot me a text message. Be like, I can't even talk right now. Just wanted to tell you I was thinking about you. So I implement little things that matter to me, that make me feel good and make me feel secure and feel like the relationship is stable. So you really hit on it, Malik. Like, if you do that for me, you ain't got to worry about me. I'm good to go. You gas up my engine.
They don't listen to us a lot. So so that's one problem a lot of women have. Like we literally tell y'all like what our thoughts are and, you know, how to solve the problem. But you guys, how do I put this? You guys think like in a circle. Like we all get
No,
to the
you
same
are
point.
right.
We go this way, we go straight. Y'all want to go around to get to the same point. It's like we could have just went straight, but you guys want to go around.
It's
So,
because
and y'all
women,
guys going around, y'all guys don't
And y'all
listen
gave
to
us the
us when
game.
we're going straight.
right?
So,
That's true.
so you guys don't understand our issues sometimes. Y'all be like, oh, men are so complicated. It's like, no, we're simple. You guys aren't just listening to us. You guys are
But
feeling your feelings and emotions and playing off those. Go ahead, Sam. Sorry.
But sometimes it's not about feelings and emotions, Malik. Sometimes it's just the fact that women tend to overthink. You see what I'm saying? Like when you start getting into nature versus nurture, right? When you talk about hunting and gathering, the goal is I'm going to kill that animal and bring it home to my family, right? So that we can eat. So that's the goal. That's it. You see what I'm saying? When you're talking about nurture, though, women tend to think about everything else that goes into nurturing. You see what I'm saying? So when you talk about all those little pieces that go into it, women are often overthink. So while you're saying, look, the quickest way to get to that destination is this straight line, she's like, yeah, but you know what else? I also see X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and it's not in the divine order it's supposed to be, right? So then when she gets there, it's like, oh, okay, I see what you were saying. But sometimes that overthinking, especially when you're in a relationship, right? That overthinking can help that straightforward thinker, right? Because you see the things that they don't see because they have that tunnel vision. And so it's a gift and a curse for both men and women, right? Because women overthink, and like you said, it's kind of a circle, right? Whereas men are very straightforward with it. So I think that has to do with the nature versus nurture thing.
And Malik is right. I don't be listening. You tell me something, I'll be like, oh, okay, this is the game plan. And you know, say you got to do 1, 2, and 3 for me. I'll be like, but there has to be 4 and 5. Where's
Right.
4?
It's a common problem with women. They just don't listen to us guys. Like guys complain about all the time and like just being in a relationship. I'm like, women just do not listen. You'll say something that just
we ain't gonna listen.
like y'all hear us, but y'all just don't listen.
Hold on, no. In fairness, men don't listen either, right? Because a woman can see all the other little things going on the outside, and that tunnel vision got him blocked, and he don't see it. And so she's like, I'm trying to tell you, this ain't the right move. That one, you need to let that one go. You might want to try considering doing this. And he's like, nah, I got this. Because all he
sometimes
sees
y'all
is
don't come direct,
that's
though,
people,
Sam.
though.
Like,
It's not men and women. That's people.
Y'all do
that's
other
people.
stuff. Yeah, it is
that's
a people thing.
Though. Because it's certain things you can't tell me about. I ain't trying to hear
That's
you. And
true.
then we get down the road and you can say, Ned, it's a ditch. It's a ditch 2 miles. I ain't hearing it. I'm going down this road. And then I get in the ditch. I be like, dang.
They
told me it was a ditch. But you know what happens to me? When it don't take me one time to get in that ditch. And I said, now what you said the ditches was? Okay. And I think that's the other part of relationships and being humble and be like, okay, this person knows better than me. So I'm gonna lean on them for this.
Right.
Because they know where the ditches are.
So I think, because I want to bring it all back and answer the question that Sam had phrased, you know what I'm saying? I think that is very important, right? And one of the things that, you know, and it's a perfect segue into what I believe, you know, I offer as to like what do you give? I think Ned asked that as well. Like, what do you give? Right? And I would like to believe that I give leadership in the regards of like someone that you feel like you can trust and like know that they're going to have your back. They're going to have, you know what I'm saying, have your best interest in mind. And that to me is something that like as a man, you know, you need to assert that to the woman that you're with so that they can feel confident in themselves and with themselves. You know, he said something about like, are you ominously present, right? Like, and like that's something I definitely have to work better on. I can't even lie about that one. I'm horrible at that. Unless I might actually leaving the house. Like if we're out somewhere, I try to I'm sure I do a lot better job at it. But like when I'm at the house now, I'm on my phone, I'm on my computer, I'm doing whatever. I think, but that also is something that, you know, again, because it's like when I take the time to go out and do something, I like to do nice stuff sometimes. From what I've been hearing, I don't think it's so nice, but others tell me, oh, you know, you're doing this, that, and the third. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But from what I'm told, it's fairly nice things. So, so you know, when I do get a chance to leave the house or go do something, I kind of want that to be the thing. And that's another thing that I think that I do offer, right? Is saying like that's the backside of it, right? You know what I'm saying? You work hard so that when you can have fun, you can have the type of fun you want to have. So you can go maybe places that you might want to go, or eat where you want to eat, or do what you want to do, dress how you know, whatever the case may be. So that's why I feel like, you know, there's a little give and take to it. And I think sometimes, especially if there's anyone younger that's watching this, like, you know, I think sometimes when you're dealing with someone, I think one of the biggest things that I would say is have some patience, especially when you're dealing with a Black male who has ambitions and, you know, has a goal that they're trying to achieve. Because if they were raised a certain type of way, they're going to make sure that when they get on, you're on. And not only when they get on it, that you're on, y'all kids are going to be on. And everything else that goes on with that, because they're going to make sure that that's, you know, that they give that type of view. So I think you're going to have to look at the person that you're dating, you know what I'm saying? That's for a woman dating a male, particularly look at how they're dating, maybe look into their history, find out maybe how they came up and what they was about. And then maybe you could kind of see what the type of goals or guidelines that they might have in their life. And so for me, you know, when I give, that's the type of stuff that I feel like I give. I give you, you know, what my vision is of how I came up, and, you know, what I would like for my children to be. I feel like that's a vision. Like, you know what I mean? Like you say, like that's a destiny in a sense, because it's like, I'm trying to share my journey with you. I'm trying to share my legacy. I want our legacy. You know what I'm saying? I want us to be able to have divinity. I want us to be able to have a community that raises strong children, who also raise other leaders, who are friends with other leaders, who are associates with, you know what I'm saying, other people that's doing powerful things in this world. And I think you can have those things if you guys are able to communicate, if you guys are able to, you know, talk about what it is that you need, be able to be patient with each other while you're trying to get to that point. And that's one of the things that I'm really trying to work on, because like I feel like I like to think I'm patient, but I guess like I'm not so much patient. It's something I definitely want to work on. Listening is another thing, just being honest. You know, me as a person in areas in which I think I can improve, you know, as a professional who's dating, like, you know, giving it that same type of detail that I would as maybe a client that's talking about something that their needs are, or, you know, a regulation or something that you might be reading. So that's the type of things that I think that I do give, and that I offer, and, you know, what I look to provide also as well, mainly being that leadership, along with, you know, a certain level of, you know, stability, and understanding that there's going to be certain things that we can do within our relationship, just because, as well as a level of, and a desire to see us grow as a whole. And I think that's another thing that as a man you should want, is for your household to be better, to always be looking to improving and to get better, because you understand that yesterday's home runs don't win today's games.
Mm-hmm.
I've said. So, you know, each day I want to set that type of tone for my household as well, as to what it is that, you know, we want to do as we move forward. And those are things that I think that as a man, if you can provide in your relationship or in the home that you're in, that will make you valuable, irregardless of, you know, if you are a professional or anything else. These are the type of things that, you know, all people need, you know, children, women, you know, and even other men, you know what I'm saying, if they are in their household, to see, so that they can kind of rise to that level.
Mm-hmm. I know for me, like Net had posed a question and I just asked another question without answering it. As far as what you give, right? I know for me, I'm a giver, right? I pour into people, you know, so for me, I try to meet needs. And that's professionally, personally, that's just my personality. I've always been that way. I try to pour into people, sometimes at my own expense. So I have been working on fully understanding that the word no is a whole sentence, you know, because sometimes I'll give too much and then I won't have enough left for myself when I need it. But I am a giver. And so I like to help people get to where they're trying to go. So if somebody needs help trying to figure out a problem, I'm helping figure it out. if if somebody is trying to get directions. I remember, case in point. Now this is just a friendship type situation, but it's a perfect illustration of how I am in any type of relationship, whether it's friend or in an intimate relationship. I had a homegirl one time. She got lost, and she called me up, and she was like, "I'm trying to fit," and I wasn't home. I was out on a date, right? And I was like, this was years ago. And she was like, "Sam, I'm lost. I know I'm kind of over by where you live, but I have no idea how to get back to wherever she was going, or the highway or whatever." I carried my behind from where I was at. We were in the car, and I was like, "I got to go help my friend." And I drove over to help her find her way back home because I didn't want my friend to be lost. And then me and him, we continued on with our date. And he was like, "Dang, you're a real good friend," because I like to pour into people, and I do it without expectation, right? Because I like giving. Giving gives me joy. So, I know for me, I like to try to help, like I said, meet people's needs and give. But at the same time, one of the things I have to work on is not, aside from just giving too much, I have to let other people give to me. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm so busy, like, trying to do things independently and give and do this, that when somebody's ready to pour into me and give to me, I'm like, no, I got it. No, I got it. And I have to be more open in that sense, because I'm so busy always trying to provide. And I know for me, I have to be better at that, for the simple fact that, I don't need anybody trying to take advantage of me. Hence the whole "no" is a whole sentence, right? And then also too, I have to learn not to, I have to learn how to save some of that energy for myself, because I will do it. I'll go until I'm like, all right, I'll see y'all in a couple of days. I'm going to take a nap. You know what I'm saying? So I know for me I'm a nurturing person. So that's definitely like a gift and a curse. I like to nurture people. Some people believe in the zodiac, some people don't, but I know I'm a Cancer. Cancers tend to be nurturing people, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but you just can't allow people to take advantage of that. And I think that also helps benefit a relationship too, especially too when you're dealing with somebody, particularly Black men who have lived a good portion of their life where they felt, doesn't mean they haven't been, but they felt unsupported. And you want to be there to help support them, right? Because you often hear that from Black men saying, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z, but I feel like my girl or my wife or my shorty or my boo or whatever isn't supporting me, So just like I know I would want somebody to be a cheerleader in my corner saying, "Hey, Sam, you're doing a good job. Keep doing what you're doing." I want to be that for somebody else. I want to be the change that I see. I want to be the example that I want in my own life. So, I mean, that's that for me,
You hit on it, Sam. I think my favorite quote is, it says, "Givers have to have limits because takers rarely do."
Tell me about it, because it will freaking suck you dry.
Yeah.
They will. But yeah, do you guys have anything else that you guys want to add, or any other questions?
I guess I took some notes, and I think one of the other things I wanted to talk about, and I guess this doesn't have to be a long discussion. One of the things me and my dad always talked about was, no matter how bad like a relationship is or ends or whatever, he was just like, the worst thing you can do is close your heart off to finding love. And this came from a Black man, big football playing man. He was like, I promised myself I would never stop. Like, I would always keep my heart open. I asked God not to harden my heart after a terrible relationship. And so my dad asked me to pray that same prayer after I left that 10-year relationship, so that like my heart would not be hardened to like the person I was supposed to be with. And I think that that's when things is like, you just have to be open to love. But also, one of the things I've learned now is when I'm in situations and it's toxic, love cannot cover trauma. I don't care how much you love someone. I don't care how good my family is to you or how good I am to you or the situation I bring you into a fold of. If you got trauma that you have not dealt with, there is nothing that I can do for you, especially if you're not willing to work on that. Love cannot cover trauma. So many times, people say be patient with Black men. Well, they got to do the work. And same thing for Black women too. So it's not an excuse, but if you're going to be patient with your partner, they have to be doing the work, because if they are not doing the work, then that toxic situation is going to take you in. And the last thing I want to say is we have to normalize love without struggle first. I'm not here for a struggle love.
Amen.
Like, I don't want nobody to say I'm with her because she rolled me, she dealt with me when I was doing. No, normalize love without struggle first. And we, men or women, we don't deserve to be dragged down the road, mistreated, taken for granted. And then the person say, oh, they still here, I'll marry them. I don't want you.
Yep, that's why I don't believe that I should have.
I like that, but that's a real conversation that we have to have again.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I feel like this kind of how the game kind of gets played to a degree, right? But again, that's not the topic for today.
Right. I mean, but it is though, because it's just like
for the listeners, we got one. We got about like two.
We do, but I do want to say this. It just touches on why I said I don't believe I need to be hurt before I can be happy. Right? That's exactly what that is. That's it. That's that very exact thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely. No, and I agree with what all y'all guys are saying. And I think my little couple of things that I want to say and then closing is just like, one, I think as a professional, one thing that I think that most of us should be more mindful of while we're out in the world is, and this is not even just being a professional, but like a person, period, is just communication. Like, I know a lot of it is so much on just communicating. I know as a male, just trying to like be there and like send a little text or something like that to just say, hey, I'm thinking about you, even when it's like, what, the world is going crazy right now, what I'm saying? I got on my plate and I'm trying. It's like, it's not that I don't think about, reaching out. It's just might have been like, hey, I wanted to wait until I got a second to reach out and, say something. Might be too late at that time, or a person might have felt like, damn, you went the whole day and da-da-da-da. So I do understand when, like you said, that, you can just shoot somebody a text and just say, hey, think about you. You know what I'm saying? But if they want to say something else to you and it's like, then you looking bug like, hey, I'm still working, or you respond late as hell back to it. So it's just, I think just being more communicating better with our partners. That's something that I think as a professional, one of the things that I would like to say that urge that we do. And then another thing is, one of the things that I would like to say that I think that we can give is to be more like Malik spoke on earlier, just being more attentive in the, or this is one that's personal to me that I took from this, which is just being more attentive in the moment, right? Being, whatever, if it is holding hands, cuddling, whatever y'all might do, but being more in the moment with that person, right? So that you guys can share those moments. And a lot of that, I think, has to go into the topics that I like us to go into another day, right? Like on where you might see that person and where y'all at, and you know what I'm saying, and what kind of conversations y'all have. But all in all, like we talking, best case scenario. So, doing these type of things are things that I think will help, further the relationship.
Yeah, I learned something today. I'm gonna listen a little bit more.
Oh yeah, everybody needs to listen more.
Yeah,
especially when I'm just kidding. Men do too. We have to be more proactive and discussing with you guys your feelings and trying to actually implement what you guys tell us. When you guys tell us directly, that's the problem that I've encountered personally, and I know other men have. You guys leave us hints and drop things, go around the circle. It takes all day for us to get directly to the issue. We ask the problem, then you guys be like, well, you should know what the problem is. It's like, oh, here we go. It's like, man. So being in a relationship is like a job, but it's a job well worth it, I think. So it's like, you have your career as a professional, and then you have your partner. That's another job. And you have to be good at both jobs and make both jobs happy. So it's very important.
To be honest, I want to go back on this too. I think we have to be fair. This is another topic for another conversation, but I feel like, you know, we gotta vet our partners just as hard as we vet the profession.
Come on, these job candidates, because I don't play about who I hire.
Right.
Don't play about the HWF. You feel what I'm saying? So,
Right.
I feel like all of those that person plays into all of that, right? You know what I'm saying? They can very well, you know, affect your health. They can, you know what I'm saying, affect your wealth, and, you know, add to it, take away from it, and especially your freedom. You know what I'm saying? As a black male in here, don't talk too loud. Don't even do nothing too crazy. You feel me? Because it could definitely go bad for you. So I feel like all of those things are things that, you know, are important in the relationship and important as a person. Like I said, you know, another follow-up conversation might be, what are the things that we're looking for when we are vetting our partners?
I think that goes to what Adriannette was saying about struggle love. She don't want to do no struggle love. And what I got from that was she has a certain expectation from her male partner from a financial aspect and from a, you know, emotional aspect as well. So she doesn't want anybody financially struggling or emotionally struggling. That's what I
No, you can't be struggling with me. And I'm at a different level now. I'm sorry. I need to be the one struggling. And this is just where I am in life now. I need to be the one struggling in the relationship. Can't nobody be below me. That's it.
How
I'm
you
serious.
Tell them that they can't struggle, but you gonna be able
because I have upgraded enough people in my life. I done took them from I almost said something.
But Adriannette, you do need to meet those lofty expectations of men who are doing better than you, specifically when it comes to black men. So when you're talking about the top 8% of black men,
I worth the trouble that I worth the trouble that I cause, and I'm not gonna cause you to lose what you got going on. You're not gonna lose with me.
Yeah, you know, I mean,
I couldn't have said that better myself.
Yeah, I think in closing, I think it's important, like you guys said, to listen, 2, to be open, and 3, to just recognize that, you know, there's, especially when you're dealing with the professional, there's more to it than just the job or the title, right? There's so much more goes into it, and there's value in that job and profession. And so recognizing that value and the work that professional put in to get to where they are, it has to be respected in a certain way, but not respected to a point where it's who you believe that person to be as opposed to what you believe that person does.
That had come off when I'm in a relationship. I'm not a lawyer no more. Like I leave that at the door. You like your ego has to die in your relationship.
Right. Because the thing about it is people think that, oh, I'm with a lawyer. And it's like, dude, I got to get up in the morning. I got to go to sleep. I got to eat. I got to do all the same things you do. Just because my job is what I do, that doesn't mean that that's who I am. Although I'm technically not off the clock 24/7, that doesn't mean I'm single-minded. Like I'm multidimensional. I'm multifaceted. I have, you know, I'm able to think.
You got way more things than just
exactly.
Now,
I'm about to just sit here and have a conversation with you about the law and how it applies to you. Like we can talk about way more things, and it can get very daunting.
This of a person.
You in a corner like that, you know.
Immunity.
Ever hit on something a long time ago in one of our talks as friendship, because I was having trouble. I don't know who the guy was at this time, and I was like, yeah, he's having, you know, about my personality, and then Ever was like, everybody want a boss bitch till they boss up on them. And I was like, oh, like that was a good one, because like, you know, you can't change who I am, and I'm not gonna try to boss you around, but also you gotta remember, and my dad says this too, the same things he loves and admires about my mom that drew him to that marriage is the same thing he can't stand. Like he can't stand it. And so the same things that draw you to somebody can be the very things that like really like annoy you.
Like you said, you might, and I remember that because it's like, you know, I know from just looking at how it was, you know, within my household, like my mom worked hard, I was on her grind. So, you know, all figurative meant for all intensive purposes, she was considered to be a boss on the job as well as off, you know. So I know what it was like seeing her, like, you know, within her relationships and thinking like, man, nah, like I mean, shit, I kind of would want something different than that, but also understanding that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you want that, you think you might want, oh, this go-getter, but then when you realize, damn, they really going and getting it. Like, it's not like, oh, it's fun that they go get it from 9 to 5 and then they get off work and then they hear from
But
me.
a lot of that has to do with perception though too, E.
Business or their business. No, it's not like that, sir.
But a lot of that has to do with perception because people don't recognize
like how you are who you are after you get off work and what you got to key into the household is the same thing you giving from your partner if your partner has to work. And I feel like, you know what I'm saying?
A lot of that has to do with perception too, right? Because people perceive the it's like you wasn't with me when I was shooting in the gym. You see all the glory and the accolades, but you don't understand that this go-getter attitude is why I go get it the way I do, why I go so hard. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, I think again, in closing, because we are pushing on the time, okay. You know, we just gotta be more open and listen and communicative. And I think that's just true for everybody. You know what I'm saying? And be fearless and unapologetic in what you want, and just understand and recognize your purpose. And I think that that's going to be true in any type of relationship, but especially an intimate one. And then I think that, you know, it can help people to grow, glow, and just, you know, just thrive. So, in closing, I'd like to thank our very special guest, Adriannette Williams, for joining us. We hope that you'll come back.
Yeah, thanks for coming by.
Yes, I'll definitely come back by.
It's been a fantastic conversation. We love you and we thank you so much for coming. And we'd like to thank our viewers who have tuned in with us. Thank you so much for tuning in with us and sticking with us. I know this podcast went a little long, but it was good and it was worth it. Y'all know y'all think so. And so again, just thank you. Thank you. And we hope to see you again next week.
Hey, drop a comment. Let us know what y'all think about the time length. Any comments or questions, any topics y'all might want us to talk about. You guys can catch us on Instagram, on Facebook, as well as here on YouTube where you found us. We're all interactive. Hey, everybody, one time, why don't we shout out our socials real quick before we get up out of here so people can know where to find us all. Once again, my name is Everett Stevenson. I'm on Instagram, Clubhouse, whatever, Gmail, at that guy 2104. Look forward to speaking to everybody. Y'all have a good one, and the rest of my lovely panel up here today as well.
Okay, well, Adriannette, we'll let you go before I go, and then Malik can go after me.
Mine is it's just like my name is Adriannette Williams, same handle. You can find me anywhere with the same name as you need. You just look it up, Adriannette, 2 N's, 2 T's, 2 E's, 2 A's, Adriannette Williams.
There you go. And I am Samantha Adams on Facebook. I am Samantha Adams -Esquire, and on IG I am Samantha Renee 77_ESQ. Malik.
And I'm Malik Foster, and you can find me at Malik M. Foster on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all social media handles as Malik M. Foster.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Adriannette.Williams. Just so y'all have it.
Look her up.
All right.
Thanks for coming by, guys.
Peace.
Stop recording?